Welcome back to Geeks and Grounds, a monthly game club and weekly podcast where we play games and brew good conversation. I'm your host, Jenny Wyndham.
And I'm Joel Thomas.
And I'm staring into the abyss, Joel.
Jeezo. Are we staring into the abyss or what? If for no other reason than for reminding me of how pure 90s slang was, I'm loving it. I'm all about it.
Jeezo is right.
Jeezo is about as pure as it gets.
I was going to say, I'm like, I don't even know if I said Jeezo back in the day. Like, I don't even think I was that pure. And I was a pretty naive, pure kid.
This is because I was a step purer, I would say.
Oh, wow.
I would say
okay.
Jeezo Pete. That was my go-to as a child. Jeezo Pete. Like,
oh
I no
gosh.
idea why.
Are they from the Midwest? The game is set in
it's Michigan.
Midwest.
Yeah, it's a Midwest thing.
Okay, because I was like, that is not
Jeezo Pete.
Jeezo Pete. You know, good job for fidelity. Then.
Yeah,
that's kind of incredible.
The accuracy. I mean, people talk about graphics and like the accuracy there. Can we talk about the decade realism of this game
and the regional
the regional
specificity?
Decade, yes.
That's incredible. So for folks who are new here, or if you need a little reminder, each month we play a different game together as a community. This month we are playing Lost Records Bloom and Rage, and today we're going to be diving into the first half of tape 2. If you missed the conversations that we had on tape 1, look back a couple of episodes and you'll see that they're right there ready for you, and you can catch up to those. Or if you just are playing along with us and you're ready to go, or if you just want to dive in and I don't know, you're just like, I live on the wild side and I want to listen to the middle of a narrative, even if I haven't played the game. I mean, I won't stop you.
I want to hear more about Midwestern dialect of the mid-90s.
Yeah, that was the hook. And I think we got some folks with just that. Who've never heard of the game, just want to get into this part right here.
I almost think of it as this is the thing that the Saturday morning cartoon characters say. This is what the street sharks say before they jump into the pavement is Jeezo. And then they jump in.
Pete.
Love it. Jeezo Pete.
Yeah, Jeezo Pete. Oh, we got to bring that back is what I'm hearing at this point.
I'm going to introduce it to work tomorrow.
Yes. Awesome. Be the change that you want to be in the world is what I say. So
Jeezo the change you want. There's something there. I'll find it.
Yeah, we'll workshop it. I do feel that you're close though. So this week we are going to deep dive that tape 2 first half. But before that, we always like to stop by the Pastry case. This is our grab bag of topics, things that are happening in the industry, just with the media that we're consuming, our chance to just warm up, catch up, and see what have we been playing and engaging with besides the game of the month. We both have been playing, or have you not started yet?
I haven't started yet.
Okay. But we're both on the train.
I'm on the train.
Excited.
I'm riding it. I'm boarding the train this evening. In fact, I think I have my ticket.
So
I've already got my luggage packed, and I'm boarding the train.
And the train is stopping at Claire Obscura Expedition 33. What's been great is folks in the Discord have also been talking about this game. This game has absolutely blown up over the last few days since it launched last week. They have already sold over 1 million copies, which is out. I think they hit that mark in 3 days, which is
Jeezo Pete.
Jeezo Pete is right. It's unreal. That's huge. That's huge for any game. It's especially huge for Sandfall, which is technically an indie studio. They're published by Kepler Interactive. I used to be Kepler Interactive, but I'm not anymore, so I don't have to disclose anything. I can be totally biased in what I say.
And yet you did anyway.
It's true. Mostly just to shout out my Kepler pals who may be listening. Y'all are amazing. I am so proud. Yeah, congrats. This is incredible to see the way that this game has taken over the gaming news. I feel like everyone was talking about blueprints. We've been talking about the hype. Claire Obscura Expedition 33 launched, and literally overnight, everyone's like, RPGs? The next Final Fantasy competitor? So, yeah, I'm just curious, I guess, what have you been hearing? What are you excited about for it?
Number one, I'm just excited to have a very fresh RPG. I love RPGs. Are my favorite genre of game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just very excited for that. My entire feed right now is made up of Claire Obscure clips, Oblivion remaster workarounds, like old glitches that still exist in this
Mm-hmm.
game, and Blueprints notebook feeds, like people taking
Yep.
notes and pages and pages of Blueprints notes. And I'm just like, why work? Does work have to be a thing for me? What if instead,
Yeah.
what if instead it was this?
That's a legitimate question. I think that's a good question.
For those of you, here's your little time capsule on TikTok right now. I'm getting a lot of these almost forgot the point of all of this videos, and it's just like
Yeah.
a
Yep.
picture of nature, like a beautiful water. It's almost forgot this was the point. This is my almost forgot this was the point.
For real. Oh my God. That's like exactly how I feel. Claire Obscure for me is like almost forgot this was the point of an RPG. Like I've had some really good RPG, like in Stars and Time. I want to shout out if you're looking for another like French inspired RPG, like that one's beautiful. It also makes you cry. But in terms of like kind of that classic, it feels almost AAA in the level of polish,
Mm.
but it's an indie technically. Like this is game of the year material for me, like personally. And yeah, I'm so excited and I just cannot stop thinking about this game.
If we go from thinking about just like the past couple of years, like game of the
Mm-hmm.
year, if we go from Larian Studios producing D&D as a gaming experience that just like sweeps everything,
Mm-hmm.
we have a little bit of a break, we have a lull, and then we come to this as like the next big like game of the year front runner. I feel like it's like, how do you send a more clear message to studios that like care for quality games
Yes.
is the driver of games?
Yes. Quality games, quality storytelling. Um, I know there's been a lot of conversation. I joked about like, oh, it's the replacer for Final Fantasy. I and I say this as a
Eh?
Final
Ah!
Fantasy stan. Like I love Final Fantasy. To a point where I'm like, I know that there are faults with Final Fantasy 7 re- Rebirth, Remaster, whatever they're calling the whole trilogy, but I don't care cuz I am that fan. I want to just be in the world. Expedition 33 does what I think Final Fantasy 16, is that the medieval one,
Mm-hmm,
could not,
mm-hmm.
where I immediately cared about the stakes of the world. I immediately cared about the characters. I was invested within the first 30 minutes. Um, and I played a couple of hours of Final Fantasy 16 and I could not bring it to myself to like truly care. Like I
Mm.
was like, this is a solid RPG. Like this is fine, but I don't like feel for these characters. And man, in the first 30 minutes, if you are not crying, um, I would be shocked, honestly. Like, I expect you to text me with like the sobby face.
It was such a like Sophie's Choice moment over the weekend. It was like Friday night, and I was like, I have time. I'm gonna play games.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have both I bought both Oblivion and Claire Obscure, and it was like such
Ooh.
a toying cost for whatever toying flip I was doing. But I was like, I had watched some of the opening like cinematics of Claire, and I was like, it's too late at night for me to start this. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to start that when I'm like awake and can be like fully engaged. And Oblivion, I know I'm going to spend 40 minutes on a character mancer. I know I'm going to like mess around with stats for a while, and like it doesn't
Yeah.
require any like mental connection. And I mean, I enjoy that. To be
Mm-hmm.
clear, I enjoy that. But I was like, I'm going to save Claire when I'm like fully awake and ready to
Yeah.
engage.
Oh my gosh. If you happen to be doing it like, oh wait, you said tonight? Oh, I can't come over. I was like, can I come over and just watch you play the first part?
I'll text you.
Legitimately.
We can maybe find a
Yeah,
time
do like
I
a
can hold off. We can make it
yeah,
happen.
because I would love to see your reaction in real time, to be very
Mm.
honest. Because it's that good. And I think that's the thing, like when a game makes me feel like not simply, oh, I like playing this. It's, oh, I want to tell my friend about it. Oh,
Mm.
I want to see what my friend thinks about it. I want to see my friend's face in real time when they experience the same pain I experience in the story. Like that is the sign of greatness. And for me, that's what separates like the 7 or 8 out of 10 games to like the 9 or 10 out of games, where it's like this becomes a comprehensive communal experience that you must share with other people. And that's this game,
It just,
honestly.
I mean, I know that you were connected to this project a
Yeah.
bit, but like this came out of nowhere for me. Like I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea. I didn't know anything about it. And I started seeing just like video after video from people that
Yeah.
I like enjoy watching their takes on games. And I was just like, even just like the basic premise is just like so fascinating to me. Like,
Right?
ugh, so
Like,
cool.
give me a game where we're fighting God. Give me a game where we're fighting the most epic of battles. But then, like, at its core, it is about the most simple and human of connection. You know what I mean? Oh,
Mm.
it's just, yeah,
It
has it.
reminds me of like you could have just taken that sentence and it could have been thousand times resist, and it's like it fits
I
the mold.
mean,
It's
I
almost like
mean,
Jenny, you have a type for your 10 out of 10 games, and that's okay.
yeah, emotionally devastating,
Fighting God
spans
emotionally
ages. Yeah,
devastating.
fighting God. Yeah, I do have a type. Yes.
Oh man. Hey, speaking of original storytelling, there's something else on
Mhm.
both of our lists that I feel like we have to talk about, and that is Ryan Coogler's new flick,
Ooh.
Sinners.
Oh man. Ring a
Oh
ding ding.
my God. So we both saw it this weekend?
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay. So if you have not seen this movie, we won't spoil anything for you. It's incredible. Like one of the most like breath of fresh air storytelling, like
Mhm.
a setting that was unique and like lets you kind of get a view into a world that you don't often get a view into.
Mhm.
And uh the tension, the moments of joy, like there are scenes in this movie that are transcendent, that it's like I have never seen anything like this on screen before.
Mhm.
And so you should see it. And that's my Joel Thomas take, TM.
Yep. That
Uh,
is a great take. I subscribe to that. Yeah, transcendent. There is one scene in particular, and I have to shout out Hart in the Discord because Hart was like, there's the dance scene. And I was like, dancing? Like what? This okay. For context, the only thing that I knew about this movie ahead of time before going to see it was that it's a vampire movie.
mhm.
It's horror. And I will say if you're not a fan of horror, like it's not scary. I wouldn't say like I was not scared during this movie. It's just the vampire trope is a horror
Yeah.
trope. But so I was like, dance. Okay, as a dancer, I'm loving it, but it seems kind of odd and a little out of place. I hadn't even seen a trailer, so I don't even know if any of this is hinted at in the trailer.
Mm.
I think at this point. And so I went, and there is in Heart. You were right. That scene in particular was transcendent. I cried because it was so beautiful,
Mm.
and I have never seen anything like it on film ever. Like I would
Yeah.
go back just to see that scene.
Oh, I totally agree. I had shivers, goosebumps, like whatever the word is. I had it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even aside from that scene, the whole thing was great.
Yeah.
Um I love a good character drama. These characters were interesting. They were nuanced. Like every one of them has sort of not necessarily, it's not like they're all a little bit gray, morally. They're
Yeah.
all in that sort of middle
You might say they're
space.
sinners.
You might say they're sinners, yeah. But at the same time, you're like, oh, but you do some things that are definitely not what a sinner would do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was, yeah, transcendent, honestly, is a great word for it.
I gotta give a shout out. I got a friend who was. Oh, so first of all, y'all, I did not know this, so I'm going to share this non-spoiler information factoid for you. There is a mid-credit scene and post-credit scene. So if you did
Yes.
not stay for those, find a bootleg online or go see the movie
Hmm.
again. Uh,
Yeah, half the theater left.
Gone,
And I was
gone.
like, in my head, I was kind of like, okay, because we always sit to the end of the credits. And then when the sort of actual ending happened, I was like, half the theater did not see the ending of this movie.
Yes, and especially like the mid-credit scene is like so pivotal as a plot
Hmm.
point. Here's my fun factoid. I walked out of that movie. My friend is in Chicago, just like seeing and hanging out with people. And he went to the bar where the last scene takes place and met the character, the person that is in that scene. And like,
What?
absolutely incredible. I was so blown away. And like, I would be on cloud nine. So
Wow. I
fun times.
wonder, you know how we talk about like we've talked before during Space for the Unbound about the anime pilgrimage. I wonder if there will be a pilgrimage for people who watch Sinners to go to that bar and like do the same thing or
I could see that. I
yeah.
actually, our co-friend Helen,
Mhm.
when she was a teacher in the Delta, went to a juke joint, like the juke joint that is being referenced in this
Yeah.
movie. So like, very very cool.
Mm.
I mean, the other thing I'll mention, and like we never really get into deep like sexual things here, but the focus on the importance of cunnilingus in
Mhm.
this movie is something that needs to be surfaced and elevated consistently
You know
in
what?
the world.
I thought it was so refreshing and so great.
Yes,
And I will say the scenes themselves, like this movie is rated R, I would assume.
it's got to be.
It's got to be. I actually have not looked it up. I just assumed. So if I'm wrong, I would be shocked actually. But um, what I really loved were that the scenes where there was like sex happening, it was, I don't know, the way it was shot, the way it was staged, it was like actually really hot versus and like erotic versus just like boobs.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how to describe it really other than that. Like it felt steamy to watch versus
Hmm.
like, all right, here's the sex scene. So I'm gonna just like hunker down until they're done because it's just
Yeah.
gonna be the director filming someone's boobs because that's what a lot of them feel like to me.
You know, there's a lot
Um,
of like conversation online about like the female gaze versus the male gaze. And I'd
yeah.
be really curious to hear that conversation about this. Like
Hmm.
maybe there's something tapping into the female gaze as a part of this. I don't, obviously not,
Yeah.
I can't speak to that, but like there felt like something, a depth to this that was not common in Hollywood romance.
Yeah. I think, like, just from my perspective, I think it's way more. I don't know. Like, I won't get into the details of the scenes, partially because
Spoilies.
it's a spoiler, but I think there were just, yeah, the way that they staged it, it felt, I think female gaze is right. I don't know if that was the goal or the intent, but like me watching it, I felt like it was way more erotic in a positive way than most things I see that try to achieve like even the same thing in
Hmm.
their own films. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was great. I thought it was
See
so
it.
good.
It's a good one.
Also, just as a side note, not a spoiler, just about the characters and how, um, in a lot of movies, I get frustrated when characters don't see stuff that's obvious. I think we talked about this with
Yes.
what's the one with the church and the island,
Oh, Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass. We've talked before where it's like,
Hmm.
all right, you're
Does
not
the
getting
word
it, but it's
vampire not exist in this world? What is happening?
exactly. And I'm like, in this movie, what I loved was I don't think there was a point where I was feeling like frustrated by the characters not getting it.
I totally agree with this.
And
I
so I thought
totally
that
agree with
was
this.
amazing. Like such good writing and such good character
Man,
development.
I want to have like a deep conversation about this because especially like the character that holds the knowledge and like the way they just listen to that character is so
Yes.
important, and there's no way to talk about it without spoiling things. So
Yeah.
go see the movie. Maybe we can chat about it on Discord or
We'll have to
something or in
set
the
up a
monthly
thread.
hang, but man, so good.
Yeah. But in addition to that, you watched something else this week,
I
or
gotta give
you've
a
been
shout
watching.
out. Yes, Freer Beyond Journey's End. I
Hmm.
definitely plugged this movie when I was watching it, but it won a whole bunch of like anime awards, Anime of the Year awards, things like that.
Yay.
And it was going up against like heavy hitter Jujutsu Kaisen, Solo Leveling, like very popular shows. I think this is so well deserved. I think Freer is one
Hmm.
of the best anime I've ever seen, just period. And
Yeah.
so excited to see where this show goes. And if you have not watched it, I strongly recommend it, especially if you just like things like beautiful character design and color palettes, good
Mhm.
storytelling, magic, things like that.
Yeah, and slow pace. We talked about this a little bit ahead
Yeah,
of
good
starting the
call.
recording, but I think what I appreciate is this is an anime that isn't afraid to sit in the shots or like let you digest things as the characters themselves are digesting knowledge or memories, and I love that. Like it
Yep.
feels so good to watch.
And even if you like faster paced things, I was saying, like, I have a really good friend and my youngest brother who are really into action anime. And I was like, you
Hmm.
guys have to watch this. And at the end of episode 2 and 3, both of them text me, are like, dude, I can't. It's moving so slow.
Hmm.
Again, keep in mind the audience, but I was like, just get to episode 5. If you hit episode 5 and finish it and are not into the series, quit. That's fine. But if I just strongly believe that if you make it to the end of episode 5, you will fly through the rest of it. And
Yeah.
both of them said, yes, that is what happened.
Oh my gosh. It's such a refreshing difference than I've gotten different anime series where folks are like, if you can make it to episode 123, I swear it's
Subtweet One
amazing.
Piece.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if you
Mm,
need 123 episodes to get good. I feel
mm-mm,
like
mm-mm.
there's a slight problem.
Yeah, I concur. Totally.
Um,
Last thing on my list, I'm still working through The Antidote by Karen Russell. I am
mhm.
liking this book more and more as I read it. I linked an NPR article that is calling this the next great American novel.
Oh,
So
snap.
strongly recommend. I will say, um, I was worried that I had lost my ability to read non-Brandon Sanderson things, and
It's been so long.
this is, yeah, literally, I think that's almost exclusively what I've been reading since the summer when I was trying to like
Mhm.
get ready for the new release. And so getting into something that's not Brando Sando has been lovely. And this book has been such a great like next thing for me to get obsessed with. So would
Yeah,
recommend.
I was gonna say, what genre is it? Fiction?
It's
Um,
speculative fiction. It takes place
okay,
during like in Nebraska during like the Dust Bowl, and like I hate that era. It's my least favorite era of
right, that's
storytelling,
right.
which
Yeah.
we've talked about before. But there's like just some interesting twists, like supernatural twists in the air that make it so engaging. I'm enthralled. So
Mm.
really, really enjoying
Yeah,
it.
okay, I'm remembering this now. Yeah, I need to pick this up because I need a new book to read. I'm still slowly working through what is it, Never Whistle
Never
at
Whistle at
Night.
Night.
But man,
It's
those
hard. It's
those
it's a hard one
stories.
to get. It's like so intense.
I read one of those stories and I'm like, all right, I gotta set this down
I'm
for
gonna
like a
need to
week.
grieve for a week. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So, and it's funny because that book is like what, 120 pages, maybe
Yeah.
tops, like, which normally I cruise through in a night, but yeah, that one I'm having to slowly go through. So I think I need another book that's a little
Hmm.
less intense.
Yeah. And what else have you been getting into?
In addition to that, just a little bit of listening to just it's not oldies, I guess, but it is an older album that I rediscovered over the last weekend and just been on repeat. It's called Songs to Make Up To by Taku. Uh, it's just such a chill, like it feels warm to me. I
Hmm.
don't know how to describe it, but it's just an album that feels warm and good, like perfect to have with tea and if you're crafting or just like journaling. Really, really nice. Personal favorite song is called Down for You by or it's featuring Alina Baraz, I believe is how you pronounce it. But the whole album is really good. So if anyone's looking for like a good chill, kind of like lo-fi esque
Mm.
album to listen to. Like it's like lo-fi meets sort of electronic, like touches, like slight little touches of R&B in there. It's very, very good.
Yeah, just as a quick side note, on
Hmm.
TikTok, this guy started popping in talking about Indonesian R&B and neo soul, and it is so good. I've just go to Spotify and I typed in that exactly, and like every song
Yeah.
that's playing is just like one banger after another. So if I find some that I can remember,
Dang.
I'll send it over to you and link it
Yeah,
here in the chat.
I
But
love a good, like honestly, I would love to hear some Indonesian R&B cuz like for example, Korean R&B, I feel like is really slept on. Like it's really
what?
good.
I didn't even know that
Oh yeah.
existed.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll hook you up with some recs,
Yes.
but like Korean R&B is so good. I feel like Indonesian R&B, I would love to hear it. Just the genre itself, I just love R&B. But yeah, everyone talks about K-pop, but Korean R&B is really, really solid.
K-R-M-B.
Yeah, Karen B.
Currenby. Yeah.
And yeah, I think that is it for our pastry case selections. Two notable releases this week. Both of them are out on May 1st. We have Despelote, which we've talked about previously on the podcast. Super excited for that to be finally out. It is developed by, I think it's pronounced Julian Cordero and Sebastian Valbuena, and published by Panic. And this is a slice of life adventure about being a child, playing soccer, and living in Ecuador in 2001. So very like chill game. I'm super stoked. The demo was lovely, and it's still on Steam if you wanted to give the demo a try. And Free Ride, which is basically a personality test in a game.
Oh no.
Yeah, everything you do in this game is like kind of tracked and measured, and at the end of your, I think, run, I don't know how it's structured in the full game, but in the demo is the end of the demo, you get a sort of archetype that personality test sort of solution or answer as to how you played and like what kind of player you are. um really excited to see how the full game plays out and how you either get your archetypes, maybe how you change it, how it's reinforced. It's not, I don't think the story is anything like Undertale, but the sort of oddball RPG, quirky characters, like it has an Undertale earthbound like heart to it. I don't know if the dev would agree necessarily, but that's just how I felt when I was playing it. So if you like sort of odd RPGs, quirky, generally hopeful RPGs, I think this is kind of up that alley. So yeah, that's Free Ride.
Excellent.
All right. As always, subscribe to the newsletter where we'll send these links out. You can do that at geeksandgrounds.com. And that's where you also can see the full list of every game we're going to be playing this year. So you can prep ahead of time if you'd like. And anything else like our Discord links and social channels and stuff like that. It's time for this month's brew. Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 2. We are on Rage. And whew, I would love to start off with a recap of tape 1 because we ended on some real, not high notes. That's the wrong. What's the word where it's like, there was a lot happening.
It was a big tension, lots of tension.
Lots of tension. Yeah, I was like, high
very
notes
glad that we're playing this back to back.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really happy that we did not have to wait for this because I would have been very frustrated. I don't like having to wait.
I would like to have this conversation at the end of our chat today. Actually, is like the slow roll release of this, like how that serves or does not serve the game. So let's definitely come back to that.
Definitely.
So we have Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, and you're in the Midwest, a little town in Michigan. And this story is kind of hopping through time. You have an adult woman named Swan meeting up at the bar. We don't really know with whom, but she's back into her old town she grew up in.
Yeah.
As we progress through the current day, we learn that she is there to meet up with some old friends who uncovered something secret, potentially supernatural. And after that experience, they split apart. They haven't seen each other in years and years. But because one of them received a package in the mail, very like, I know what you did last summer, they are reconvening in this small town at a bar to see what happened. Yep. As you play through, you get flashbacks with this main protag that we're following. Her name's Swan, young redheaded girl, like 15-ish, as she's kind of like an introvert who's really into film. She has a camcorder, and she is making friends for the first time with a group of girls. Autumn, who you are there to meet in the bar immediately, her friend Nora, and then another new friend named Kat. And these four girls have like this one shining golden summer together, it seems, before Swan is going to be moving away to Canada. So you're playing out these girls and like building relationships. There's a little bit of romance, a little bit of friendship. And you're also encountering these supernatural elements as you're in the woods. Like something mysterious is happening. You stumble upon a cabin. You
Mhm.
find what appears to be this glowing void in the background, or in the back of the cabin. And near the end of tape one, the girls are in this kind of punk rock band. It's very exciting. They stage this impromptu performance out of the back of a truck at the very bar where you are meeting as adults. Things get out of hand. The show is raging.
Mm.
The plug gets pulled, and the youngest of the group, I'm assuming she's the youngest, Cat,
Mhm.
starts screaming at the crowd until she passes out. And we learn that she is sick with leukemia. And that was kind of the big breaking point at the end of tape one before we get
Mhm.
to this new tape, which we didn't have to wait at all for, but some people have been waiting for a couple months now.
I think moving into tape 2, what I have really appreciated about this game is the way that it has shown um like friendship, especially teenage girls and
Mm.
even women, in the present day, like just friendship between girls. It's like so nice to see. It's not something we get very often in games,
Yeah.
and I think I've been really, really appreciating that because it's also just there's a lot of really relatable stuff captured in there. And I also really love specifically this idea. I've been thinking a lot about the rage component
Mm.
and the ways where these teenagers are at the point in which their rage is really starting to come into its own, but it's also the age in which I think our rage has started to, like, people really start to tamp down on the rage that we have. And so
Mm.
I think the introduction of all of this stuff has just been really, really compelling. And I'm excited to see where they go in tape 2 with all of those themes.
That's brilliant, Jenny. I had not thought about that. The like,
Mm.
not only is this the time where you like start feeling that rage and start seeing like there's a lot of like comments about like society and things like that, but it's also when you start learning to kind of self-censor and like
Mhm.
tamp that down. That's a really interesting point. I'll have to think more about that.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the abyss. I started the
Okay.
episode, but genuinely, I think like it's funny because I think last episode, or maybe it was the first one, I think it was the last one where we talked, is the abyss real or not? And
Mm.
I think kind of like I forget what else we were talking about, but it's like I think it's real to me because it's real to the girls, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what matters most.
Yes.
And so I'm like, for me at this point, I've decided the abyss is real, the magic is real. But also I've been thinking, okay, it can be real, but it also can still be metaphorical for something else. And so I'm thinking, and I'm going back and forth, and maybe it's all of the above, but I feel like the abyss is really representative of that rage and how it can
Mm.
be channeled. I think it may also be tied to their ability to remember parts of themselves. So yeah, I feel like rage,
Mm. She's
rage and
cooking.
memory are kind of where I think the abyss is where it's pooled. So that's sort of what I've been thinking about over the last week as we've been playing this tape too.
I love that. Those are great points. Wow. Hmm.
So let's kick it off. We
Yeah.
start tape 2 with a nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. This, speaking of a thousand times resist, very reminiscent of the nightmares
Yeah.
there. Like it's you're in your young swan again, the complete blackness and void, like almost like you're running on like water beneath you,
Mhm.
but everything else is black. And there are these TVs that are kind of
Mm.
lining a path, and you run to them, like you hear voices and reminiscences. What struck me is like getting to the creepy tree in the middle of the path,
Mhm.
and kind of these doll effigies that are all around the base.
Yeah.
um I don't know what's going on with that tree, to be totally honest with you. Did you have any like theories about that?
Not really. The dolls and sort of when you look into it, it looked at first I was like, are those like dream catchers? But then they looked like they had like sort of satanic stars and like sort of
Yeah.
symbolism there. And so I'm not sure what it exactly meant, but I think it felt very representative of a lot of the sort of scary occult stuff we've been finding around the cabin.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
for me, it kind of like represented sort of that aspect and their interest in a lot of this more mystical stuff.
If y'all are into little wooden accoutrement that reminds you of satanic dealings, highly recommend you check out True Detective season 1 or season 3. uh yeah, I was immediately kind of creeped out by the whole aesthetic of this scene.
Mm-hmm.
You start running past the tree, and eventually you see the cabin again, and that's kind of like when I
Yeah.
woke up. Was that similar to your experience through all this?
Um, did you see the stage with Kat and get the voiceover with Dylan? That's like it's basically the recollection of like
Yeah.
she has leukemia and Kat is you sort of remember the performance, but everything is in this stark deep red light, so it's very very scary, honestly.
Yeah.
Like this part actually got really creepy for me, and I think you see Kat collapsing and you're reliving that moment again. And then, yeah, we woke up.
You wake up back in the bar as adult Swan, but with tattoos. So let's talk about this for a moment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have not, we haven't talked about this at all, actually. There is a perspective shift between your
Yes.
past self, where you're seeing third person, and your present self, which is
Mm-hmm.
first person view. And like, there's a moment where you're going to go to the bathroom as an adult. Like, we don't actually experience any of that, so you don't look in the mirror. These tattoos are the first thing that we see of like physical adult Swan.
Yeah, it's really cool because this was the moment where I really realized and noticed that perspective change. I think
Mm-hmm.
in my head, I was like, oh, yeah, present day is first person,
I
past is
hadn't
third
I hadn't thought
person.
about it at all.
I was just kind of like, cool, it's just a narrative decision, I guess. I don't know. And then seeing the tattoo for some reason was the thing that first I was like, wait, we haven't seen Swan at all. Like we've seen everyone else's outfits, like Nora looks really different. And you're just kind of like, wait, what does Swan look like? Because I wouldn't have predicted Swan as a tattoo getter for some reason. I feel like Swan wouldn't get tattoos, but we got one.
I'm
So
gonna be
I'm like,
honest.
what do we look like?
The more we learned about like Swan working in this bookshop, like writing her own book, and like about cryptids, the more I was like, oh, this is like your quintessential like book talk girly. Like, absolutely she has tattoos.
See,
Absolutely she
the way
does.
I played her, I was like, she was just not into like needles or I don't know. I just had this image where I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like Swan, I wouldn't have expected her to have like, or if she did, it'd be small because this is like a forearm. This is like a
Yeah.
full like section.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, all right, what else? What else you got, Swan? Like that's kind of cool.
Ooh, what do you think this says about like adult Swan? Like, it's possible. Like, we both talked about this. That, like,
Mhm.
Swan is a very like kind of introverted, closed off character when we first meet her,
Yeah.
and the way we both chose to play her is that the more she engages with these girls, the more she's coming out of her
Hmm.
shell and she's taking risks. There's a way we could look at this, which is how I kind of saw it, which was I perceived in tape one that adult Swan recloisters herself as an adult. Like, she seems
Mm-hmm.
very shy as an adult, like pretty soft spoken. Um, and so there's part of me that thinks like, oh, well, maybe adult Swan kind of had reverted back to that when she moved to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if maybe what we're seeing here is that no, like, she kept some of that like spirit with her when she moved to Canada. And like,
Yeah.
maybe she's a little soft spoken as an adult, but like, there's a rebellious streak that's a part of her.
Yeah, I think the more I think about it and hearing you talk through it, I do feel like even though she doesn't seem to really remember the summer, I do feel like fundamentally, especially with how we played, because I think there are some options where like uh I think there's a specific dialogue moment where even you're talking to Kat and Kat's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I would either jump off this thing or I would go to this place or I would climb this high. And you could choose whether or not Swan is more timid about it or kind
Mm-hmm.
of going with it. And pretty much every time we have the option, I have Swan being like, yeah, let's do it. Let's like go for it. And so I think now that I'm thinking about it, the present day Swan has retained, I think, that rebellious streak for me. Now that we're talking, I'm like,
I
narratively,
like
I think
that.
that's cool. And I think even though maybe she is still you can still be soft spoken, but have that
Mhm.
rebellious streak in you. So,
Absolutely.
um,
Yes.
yeah,
If you're listening and you find yourself being somewhat soft spoken, like, we know that
that's
you
me.
can be rebellious.
I
We
was gonna
get
say
that.
I'm a I would consider myself pretty soft spoken, like especially in group or public situations. You can be rebellious, so I would
Yeah.
say that's absolutely it.
Strong, rebellious. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I will say, we'll talk about this a bit later, but like, my rebellious choices are going to majorly come back and bite me in the ass later on in these conversations, and cannot wait to talk about it.
I am so
Um,
excited.
we do see Gus and Pam hanging out at the bar.
Hmm.
Now, I always kind of go like 50% into the conversations with these two.
Yeah.
What stood out to me this time was the like a very focus on the weirdness of the area, and but I see that maybe you had more of a conversation. So what did you uncover as a part of this?
Yes, they talk about how like there's like the haunted cabin, I think, which you're just like, oh my god, is that the cabin? I can't remember if it's this conversation or another one in the future, but yeah, they're talking and they do go into the details of Pam being single, and Pam's just kind of like talking to Swan and says something along the lines of, "Well, you know how it is, though. You're single, right?" And uh, Swan responds, "Yes." So I think this is the first time we officially learn that Swan is single. Um, and so yeah, we see Gus and Pam kind of. I feel like they've been friends for a very long time, but I'm like, I would ship them, honestly. So we're seeing that flirtation happen a little bit, at least on Pam's side, it
Yeah, why
seems.
not? I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
It's interesting because I see like there's more to this as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
eventually, like we go back and we're talking with Nora and Autumn again, like grown up Nora and Autumn, and I see again that like you chose to learn more than I chose. So I here's something that's like I'm a little bit. It's good. Like this mechanic is good,
Yeah.
but you don't know based on your responses how if you're going to be like breaking the heart of one of the people and like
Mm-hmm.
mending the heart of the other or having an opportunity for growth with someone that you're talking to. So like unless you have a player guide, like I'm playing pretty authentically to like what I feel like fits the moment. And
Mm-hmm.
one of these is immediately like you go back to the table and you have the chance to open the package or talk more about Kat. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of Nora playing around. I have the opportunity to like start opening this package.
Yeah.
I'm going for it. And when I did that,
Ah.
I did not reminisce more about Kat, and I
Mm-hmm.
broke someone's heart and I built someone's heart. And I think I
Yeah.
know who was who, but
Yeah.
it seems like you did have that conversation. So what was that like for you?
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember the specifics, but I did, yeah, we did have the conversation. I think it was a little bit more of the Autumn specifically confronting Noor and kind of
Mm,
being like, why did you come here if not to talk about this thing? Like, we need to be in this together. And I think by the end of that, Noor is like, you know what? I need to go have a smoke. I am done with this right now. I need to get out. And so,
mm.
so Nora leaves the table to have like a smoke break. But yeah, it's more of Autumn pushing Nora as to like, why are you here if you're not ready to talk? Like, why else would you be here?
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Hmm.
I so we go into this moment, and you'll recall like we have some theories about like maybe the camcorders in the box, maybe it's something else. What I thought was really interesting is you get the chance. It's covered in newspaper, and there's like
Hmm.
handwriting all over it. As you tear the newspaper off, you eventually find like a direct note kind of attached right by the lock that's like
Hmm.
remember. Um, I had the same note that it seems like you did. Like, is this from Kat? Like specifically, did she somehow
Hmm.
like time capsule this? Did she future post date it? Like, what happened here? What's your take on this situation at this point in the box?
My theory right now, I think the box is from Cat. I think the camcorder's in there. I think probably what happened is we know that Kat has essentially a terminal diagnosis. She also knows by the end of the summer, like her friends are going to go their separate ways. You mentioned the phrase like time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and especially because the box is a metal one, it's locked. It felt very much like the time capsules we did like back in middle school, where you would like, at least our middle school made us do it, where they were like, bring an
Mm-hmm.
object from home and write a note to
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and we'll open it in 20 years. Um, I'm actually curious because now I'm like, dang, I missed the opening
Wait a
because,
second. I
yeah,
did that too. Do you think they
it's like the
opened
middle.
those?
I have no idea. I would be really curious because I know I don't remember what I wrote, but I know I wrote something in very good faith to myself. I would love to know what it was.
Like, just thinking about like how often elementary schools do this. Every year, someone's putting a
Do you
capsule in there.
think the yards of these elementary
This
middle
is what I'm
schools are
wondering.
just like,
Yes.
we just need to go and like unearth these capsules?
I bet if you go to any elementary school in America right now with a metal detector, you will find hundreds of
Oh
these
my
things.
gosh, yeah.
Or,
Do they
oh,
just no,
this
no,
is
no,
very
no.
sad.
No, no.
We got to
I would
say it.
never. No. Oh my gosh. We're
What if
former
they
teachers. We would never do this.
I would do this
No.
as an
Oh my
administrator.
god.
I'm the principal and I like bring my shovel and I dig out a hole and it's the same hole every year and I pull out last year's time capsule and I
Oh
put in
my
next year's time
gosh.
capsule cuz just otherwise like there would be no
It's
earth.
true. The logistics make absolutely no sense.
Wow. I've just been like
Oh,
so thoroughly disillusioned
yeah.
by
This is for like finding
time
out
capsules.
Santa isn't real, basically. Um, well, I think this is a time capsule from Cat. So I think the camcorder will be in there. I think we'll get maybe like a note from Cat to each of the girls. I think because they all have like stuff from the cabin, and so maybe
Mm.
there's stuff from like her section of the cabin. Um and this is sort of the extension of my theory. I think the reason it, or I think the person who sent it to Autumn was maybe Dylan, because someone has to
Interesting.
have sent it, right? And I think the person who is closest to Kat, despite what we've seen of their relationship, we learned some stuff in this tape, I think, that show they're a little bit more close than we maybe have seen. Like their
Hmm.
history doesn't show, like shows that they've maybe be a little closer. um I think Dylan is the one to have sent it to us, or to Autumn.
I really like that. I feel like we start learning a lot more about Dylan and like her experiences in this
Mm-hmm.
chapter, which is really good and really needed, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to posit a different theory.
Ooh.
I think Kat is going to throw this into the void at the end of this, and the void has sent it back.
The void has sent it back. Ooh. I
Called
like
shot.
that.
Kobe, I'm
I
calling it.
like that. um yeah, oh my gosh. But that like opens up so much more, because if the void can send I mean, okay, because whatever is in this box, it's a representative of the memories that they've had together, right? Like that for me, this is a time capsule. This feels like it has to be camcorder plus whatever. Um, if the abyss controls like the memories of the stuff that, like, what if they open the box and then their memories like really come back or something?
They've
I don't
been
know.
saying that like it
Yeah.
feels like they've been having flashes of memory.
I love that. That's cool. All right.
Maybe Pam is the void and Pam dropped it off. Y'all know I don't trust Pam.
Oh my
Hashtag,
gosh.
hashtag no, don't trust Pam.
Pam is the void.
Pam is the void.
Hashtag Pam is the void.
We do so from this moment, like you find that the mysterious magical lock with the weird symbols is locking this container and it's
Mm-hmm.
stuck. You can't open it right now. And Nora is just like, not into any of this. She's like, I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be a part of this. She goes back outside and she starts smoking. And you come like you have an opportunity here to like go connect with Nora. This was such a weird interaction to me.
Mm-hmm.
What was this like for you? Having
Um,
having all this.
yeah, this was also odd to me. I feel like, so when Nora leaves, Autumn also ends up getting a call and has to get like more stuff is happening at work. So Autumn's like, let me go take care of this. And you're alone with the box. And you kind of like, I spent a long time looking at it just in case, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't open it. And then uh Nora left her phone, and you have the opportunity to look at it. And did you, oh my gosh, okay, so
I didn't see this at all.
I snooped on Nora's phone, and there's a text that Nora got from a person named Mel, who I think is her wife. And Mel is like, hey, you left so fast, you forgot to sign. And then I don't think you can open the phone, but you like read it. And I'm just like, oh,
Are
sign
they
what?
are they
Like,
splitting? Is it like a
yeah, are they
divorce
splitting
paperwork?
up? Like, yeah, this feels like not every, I don't know, it just feels like not everything is so happy.
That would
So,
explain why she's like trying so hard to avoid some of this conflict. Is like she's just like feeling so overwhelmed by life right
mhm.
now. Like, wow.
Yeah. Which it's kind of interesting because we also know Nora like in the friendship group, even from the first day we met, Nora was not one to get into any conflict. Nora didn't want to get involved
That's
with
right.
Corey, Dylan, and Swan. It was only until Autumn stepped in. So Nora has a history of just kind of not
Of
engaging in that
not
conflict.
signing her divorce paperwork,
Mm,
essentially, emotionally.
yeah. So that's my
Wow.
prediction. I think there's maybe like some sort of trouble at home, maybe a divorce at play or a separation at play that she's trying to
Ugh.
avoid. And maybe that's also what pushed her to come here,
Yeah.
but she's not ready for this conversation either.
And
So,
that's why it's like, Autumn's like, why did you even come here? Like, if we're not going to do this, like, well,
yeah.
this is why she's trying to escape from this other life that was supposed to be like stellar with these like great, like fashion
Yeah.
inspo and everything else. And didn't she say that like her wife is somehow part of her business, right? Like,
Mhm.
maybe she is the designer
I
or
think she's the
something?
designer. Yeah.
Wow. This is like you're really rocking my world with this Nora theorizing at this point.
Yeah. I know. And it's
Hmm.
hard cuz like I wish I didn't try to click on it cuz I was like, "Oh man, if I click on it and she comes back, like that's going to be a whole bag of worms I don't want to get into." But I don't even know if you can. So, not confirmed at as of this time whether it's a divorce or not, but it just feels something in my gut is telling me things aren't as what are what they seem.
Uh, so I think we both had this like after this kind of Nora interaction where like you have an opportunity to kind of build some bridges, and I kind of played it like safe. Like I'm not trying to push Nora, but I am going to remind her like why
Mhm.
we're here. Um, you get like a series of flashes at this point, and one of the things that you see in a flash is what looks to be the cabin on fire.
Mhm.
The foreshadowing in this game
Yeah.
is incredible. And like, the foreshadowing at the very beginning of tape one is the
Mhm.
girls holding hands looking into what we now know as the abyss. And like
Mhm.
you get that payoff at the end of the tape. I wonder if like structurally they're doing that, like they're giving us foreshadowing, which is like how
Yeah.
each tape will end.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, I think that's a great prediction. I was thinking the same. Yeah.
Uh, we then get to Swan back at home. Now, you'll remember,
Mhm.
like, or at least how the way I played it, Swan took responsibility for the concert. Is that what you did too?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you are in trouble because it's your fault. And like you had a bad influence with these girls and yada yada.
Mhm.
You're back in your bedroom as teenage Swan. You have to pack a box, which was a very challenging mini game for me for some reason. Like I don't know why this was so hard. It shouldn't have been. It took me
I
30
was
minutes to pack this
I was
box.
scared. I was wondering what the time estimate would be on this box packing. Because I was like,
Damn
there's
it.
always one thing. There's always one Joel moment where we
They
get, and
got
it's
me.
absolute
It was the
delight,
box this
and it
time.
was the box.
It's the thing. Okay, here's what I'm convinced of. It was a depth perception problem. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
depth of the items and the depth of the box did not make sense to my mind. And so I was like, why can't I turn this goddamn thermos on its side? Like I
yeah.
didn't understand.
It took me a second as well to realize, yeah, like we're working in a 3D space. So not only do we have like the length and the width dimensions, but we have the height, and these objects that we're putting in are also 3D. So that did take me a second. So you're not alone in that.
I did play it that I was angry with my mom, who I'm in trouble
Hmm.
with. I was a little bit bad. I tried to call Autumn. I found the phone.
Oh, yeah.
She did not answer, went to answering machine. This
Hmm.
paid off later. I'm glad that I did that. Did you try and call anyone while you were on punishment?
Yes. I first tried calling Kat.
Hmm.
Um, and I got Corey on the phone, and he was rude as normal, but he basically was the one who was like, they're at the hospital. You can try calling the hospital. And I was genuinely shocked because I was like, why didn't he just hang up on me? But he at least gave me the number of the hospital. So we called the hospital, and we're able to talk to Kat for a little bit.
What?
Yes. So we basically, Kat's like, oh, I feel like shit. And you're like, yeah, you sound like shit. Haha. And you're just kind of making these little jokes, trying to keep things light. Kat mentions that things are getting worse between Corey and Dylan. And Kat's just like, I just gotta talk to Dylan and get them to separate. Like, I just need to talk to her. And Dylan comes in, so she has to hang up. So you get hung up on. I then tried to call Autumn, but then my mom, as it was ringing, was like, no, no, no. And then I tried to call the vet because the vet's number was on there. And I saw that my cat had a vet appointment soon. So I was like, I'll just try calling the vet. And my mom was like, no, no, no. So,
Oh, so you only get 2 calls.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Like I said, I got the answering machine. I do wonder if any of you tried calling Nora. Let us know in the chat what happens there. I'm really curious to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, we then enter the most unrealistic part of this entire 90s sequence. We talked a lot about verisimilitude of the language of the 90s.
Ooh.
And how we're really like,
That's an SAT word right there.
but Swan gets a $20 allowance in 1995. I don't think
That's
so.
not happening.
I do not think so. In Michigan in 1995, no, you are not getting a $20 allowance.
No. Was
Absolutely
it for sure
not.
allowance, or was it to fix, like, to fix the parking lot? Was that like
it was it is, but it is your allowance that is going towards fixing the parking lot.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
I don't think
No.
I do not think so.
No.
So points taken away for that, in my opinion.
We were lauding the regional accuracy earlier. Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Everyone.
This is an objective podcast. We gotta be real. So it's your job now to go to the bar and clean up the mess that was made, because we took responsibility for the concert or whatever, and you're gonna scrape stickers and clean up graffiti and pack up the boxes. But the most important cameo of all is there, and that is the true antagonist of the game. Young Pam is there in the parking lot. And I gotta be honest, this is one of my favorite conversations in this whole section.
Too. Also, when we say Pam, again, this is the millennial in me. I think of The Office when Michael Scott is like, Pam, 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 Pam. It's a very specific moment in a series. If you haven't watched The Office and don't know it like I do, I'm sorry, but it's just, I have to say it because I keep thinking that soundbite when we say Pam.
We know that even now we've learned that even young Pam is interested in cryptids. Is this the moment that she mentions that she saw one? Yeah, it is. And like, for me, Swan is like, you saw Bigfoot. Bigfoot does not seem like what we have been getting glimpses of to
not
me.
At all.
But Pam's like, yes, it is Bigfoot. And I'm just like, I don't think so, Pam. I don't trust her. I don't trust her for a minute. She could be the cryptid for all I know.
Oh my gosh. I adore Pam. I loved this conversation. I am not suspicious of Pam, but I do think Pam, again, I've been thinking a lot about rage and the way this game shows, like, especially women and girls and teenagers and rage and like what happens. And I feel like this conversation was so illuminating to me, because she talks about how she saw the concert. She was there that night. And she saw the show and she was like, y'all are so cool. Like, good job. Like, she was super supportive of it. And then she was talking about the men who were, because it was predominantly men. I think there was like one lady in there that was shouting, but mostly men who were like harassing the girls, essentially. And she says that they don't know shit about shit. And then she says, I wrote it down. It really pissed me off. My boyfriend was one of them. I gave him a talking to when we got home. And I'm like, whoa, like, this is super fascinating to me that you are in this relationship And I'm seeing some hints of the Dylan and Corey. I'm seeing some hints of what was Pam like as a
Yeah.
teenager, and like her desire to rebel and be punk and like have this rage and express it. And what is she like now? And I thought it was just so fascinating. Like this conversation was really illuminating for
I
me.
didn't get the boyfriend part at all. Is it the
Oh yeah.
bartender?
No, I don't think so because she's not with that boyfriend anymore. She's single. And I don't think she would be talking with Gus because she hasn't dated Gus before.
Interesting.
Yeah, because later I think you get a conversation where I guess I'm skipping ahead a little, but
Yeah.
you basically hear them setting up like their first date together, and it's very cute. To go to a
What?
haunted cabin in the woods,
Gus
which
and Pam?
yeah,
I didn't get this at all.
oh my god,
I missed the most important subplot of the whole thing, and that's
yeah.
Pam as a
There's
cryptid going to consume the soul of Gus in the cabin. Man.
wait till we get to the second half of tape two. Is all I gotta say. um, but yeah, I think it's really interesting again because we see teenagers who are just learning to channel that rage,
Mm,
and you see this other teenager, Dylan, who has
yes.
absolutely like that's been squashed. Like she has if she has it, she's not showing it at all in any of her daily life, at least publicly. And then you have Pam, who is this woman who maybe was like that as a teenager, but has learned to tamp it down in this relationship she currently
Hmm.
is in, but still like has an appreciation for it when she sees it. So I think this all just yeah, I'm starting to see these threads come together in the game, and I'm really
Mm.
enjoying that.
Yeah, so Jenny was explaining this. Like, you go straight from this conversation with Pam to getting
Mhm.
to really do an interview, like a recorded interview with Dylan, and
Yeah.
this was heartbreaking for me.
Mhm.
And it looks like you made it further in your conversation than I did. I could tell that I did not do this conversation correctly. Like, it got
Mm.
cut off short. But the insights that you get about like some of her discomfort with Corey, her BF, some of the way she's seen at
Yeah.
home, like, man, it was brutal.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what are some of the questions and like responses that really stuck out to you in your conversation with her?
Well, for me, I think I got like 2 rounds, maybe 3 of questions
Mhm.
in, and I was trying to not press on Corey. I wanted to be like,
Mhm.
I could tell that like if you go hard against Corey, she's going to cut you off. And
Yeah.
I like the second round, I said something that was like, "Oh, I can't believe Corey did that." I can't remember exactly what it was, but like it
Mhm.
cut me off, and I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't think this was gonna be it. So I didn't get as deep. I can see in the notes that like you got a
Mhm.
lot deeper. So what was your conversation like?
Um I think what was interesting is we've seen Kat and Dylan have this really antagonistic relationship, and they're sisters. They're relatively close in age. One is in college, one is in high school. And so you'd think that they'd be somewhat close or a little closer. And so this whole time you're just kind of like, oh, I guess they just hate each other. But really, especially at the end of tape one, when you see Dylan actually really cares for Kat
Yeah,
and is just very overprotective and sort of like when you have so much love it kind of comes out as anger. It's
yeah,
like sort of the vibe that happens here. You also learn that at home Dylan understands and recognizes that Kat has something that's like really high priority and high energy is needed from the whole family for it
yeah.
because she's in the hospital, she has like to go to a lot of appointments, and Dylan understands that, but feels subsequently also left behind and just invisible in her own family. And
Right.
so you understand why she gravitates towards Corey, why she may be willing to accept behavior that she maybe wouldn't otherwise accept from a boyfriend if maybe given the familial support or at least like community support, but she doesn't seem to have any other friends
Mm,
even. So yeah, that was heartbreaking. She said a line that I wrote down, typed out. She says, "Do you ever look in the mirror and think anyone would notice if I just disappeared?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that's like for a she's not, I guess she could be a teenager, she could be early college.
yeah.
But to have a young person, young adult say that it's heartbreaking. And then I got to the point where with Corey, I was able to ask, "Are you sure Corey's the one?" And I got the little sprout that blossomed. So it
Oh,
impacted something. And what I'm hoping is that little sprout was a literal seed of doubt that was planted in her mind that Corey is not the one. And maybe she can take the steps to get away from that relationship. So that's my
man.
hope.
Wow. That's so good. I wish I had gotten that. I could tell that I really dropped the ball in that conversation and I wanted so much more.
No.
Ugh, what a bummer. So we go from here into kind of an empty cabin scene. You're going there
Mhm.
and you have a chance to kind of clean things up a little bit. But then, for me at least, autumn comes. Is that who
Mhm.
showed for you?
Yes. Yeah.
This was brutal.
Yeah.
This was such a brutal scene, and like this is where my adventurous spirit bit me in the ass. So as
Oh
you're moving
no.
through this cabin, like basically Autumn's like, I can't be friends with you guys anymore. I can't be here. Like
Mhm.
I got to collect my things, and you go on this awful mission trying to figure out which things
Oh
are
man, this
hers.
was rough.
That was so, I did not care for this. Like, bring a toothbrush. Like, well, they're
I'm like, whose toothbrush is whose? I don't
yeah.
know.
And so you have this, but like over the top of it, you do hear adult Autumn kind of
Mhm.
having conversations, and it's in this moment that she unveils that like and like a back flashing back to the present that like she felt really left out at times in
Mhm.
these group settings. And I was like, oh, like with the blood pact that I
Mhm.
chose to do. And so what I realized was these moments where Autumn was sitting out and sitting apart, didn't do the blood pact, didn't throw something into the void.
Mhm.
Um, I thought I was having this like badass, like I'm like stepping into my power moment with Swan. But what I
Mhm.
was actually doing was isolating Autumn and
Mhm.
did not realize that at all. Like I felt so bad. I don't know if you had
Yeah.
any of these similar experiences as you were doing this part of the playthrough.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing. I think the conversations kind of went the same way. Yeah, it's interesting because I think in the last section of the game, in tape one, the second half of tape one, when they're playing pool, Autumn mentions like, I regret not making a wish that night. Uh, and she's hinted at feeling that isolation, and so hearing it sort of in its full form in this conversation and from the adult Swan
Mm.
as she's reminiscing, it was really sad. And it's so hard because like I think it's both, right? As Swan, you were finding your voice and stepping into your power and discovering yourself and trying to be as true to yourself as possible. And it sucks because in doing that, you were leaving Autumn out. And yeah, I also felt really bad. I think what was really interesting to me in this particular conversation was also how quickly these friendships seem to break, particularly the friendship between Nora and Autumn. Because you also learn when you're packing stuff with Autumn and you're talking about sort of the aftermath of the concert. Nora has not called Autumn, has not talked to her, checked in on her, nothing. It's been radio silence, which is so strange to me. I'm like, if something like that happened, I mean, that's what I did. I was like, the next day, I was calling as many people as my mom would let me call before I got, kicked off the phone completely.
It was so hard. And like the next section is like you flash to the present, you're having this conversation, you're realizing
Mhm.
how like these actions were isolating. And it's like, especially like thinking about like kind of the racial components of this and like
Mhm.
Autumn sharing about how like she felt like she had to be this model minority in the
Mhm.
last tape, like all of that kind of starts coming through more here and seeing how like
Yeah.
it's not just like an abstract idea, like interpersonally, these connections were frayed because of
Mhm.
how we engaged in those moments. Uh, as Autumn's packing up, she starts having in this like flashback a panic attack, and I felt this so viscerally, like
Mhm.
emotionally, like I was on the edge of my seat, so to
Yeah.
speak, during this. I was thrilled that it gave us opportunities for Swan to like be constructively helping, like
Mhm.
this kind of like look around the room and like name things that you see. It's like this is
Mhm.
a real technique for if you're having a panic attack. Like
Yeah.
I love that. But I also kept picking the wrong things to say, things that sounded encouraging in my
No.
head that like once I said it, I was like, this is not the right thing to say. And all of it ended with me, like, in the end, like, Autumn starts walking away, and I didn't think I was going to get an opportunity to do anything. And at the last second, the opportunity to like give her a hug comes up, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, I should do that. It's like I like earned it by waiting. I was like metagaming it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when I gave her that hug, she like shrugs it off, like pushes it off. It was
No.
devastating.
Oh
Like,
my
it
gosh.
was devastating. And she's like saying
Oh,
that she needs space. And like, as an adult, I hear that and I'm like, okay, like I know how I would engage with this in real life.
right.
But playing it as Swan in this moment, and like my eagerness to like do something in this moment way overtook
Oh my
that like
gosh.
adult instinct in me. And I was like, in some ways, I bet this is exactly how this would have played out as a high schooler, like not knowing how to be like emotionally cued into this moment. So,
Yeah. I was gonna say, because I felt like that I think went much more smoothly for me. I think I
mhm,
picked, the quote, the right answers for, what the game wanted to have picked. Um, but I think you're right. I think if we're thinking about this realistically, your experience was probably more real. And I kind of like, I mean, it's heartbreaking either way, but
mhm,
I appreciate that there is that sort of more real possibility that things don't go perfectly. Because yeah, I think relatively, well, maybe more high schoolers than we'd think, but it's like, especially for someone like Swan, I don't know if she would have been able to so naturally been like, here's the exact right thing to
yeah,
say. Especially for someone, and for, since they're all in such a heightened emotional situation, like Autumn isn't the only one. Swan may be a little bit calmer and like not going through a panic attack in front of us, but like in the scene just ahead or just earlier, Swan was recording herself trying to talk about this thing that happened, and like
mm,
that was also just really hard to
that
watch.
was
Oh my gosh.
hard. It's her like thinking about like what's going on with Kat and like,
Mhm.
mm,
Yeah.
that's
So,
brutal.
yeah. Um they, after the hug though, whether or not it went more or less successfully, the scene changes to the abyss. Did you also go to the abyss
I
with Autumn?
did, but
Okay.
not with Autumn. Autumn was gone. It was just me at the abyss.
What?
And my
Whoa.
thinking was,
Okay.
oh no, like Swan is going to do something in the abyss. Maybe for me, is like maybe trying
Whoa.
to reconcile with Autumn or something, and it's going to have all these negative side effects. We don't get to see what you actually do as Swan in this moment, though. At least I
Yeah.
didn't.
So in my playthrough, Autumn is at the abyss. They're both sitting on the edge, like legs hanging over. And so I
Creepy,
was just like, whoa,
scary.
what are you doing? Especially Autumn, because I'm like, you are not about this at
Yeah,
all.
what's going on here?
Um, so that's interesting. Uh Autumn decides to make a wish. Um, which I was like, "What? Oh my
What?
gosh." She also talks about how she's worried that Kat is going to do something to hurt herself after she gets out of the hospital. She gives you the option. Basically, you get to affirm like, "Yeah, we should prevent her from doing something dangerous and try not to let her hurt herself," or you can say like, "No, we should stick together as friends." I chose the let's make sure Kat doesn't hurt herself, because that felt like the right response. For Autumn, it was, it looked like I built relationship with her there, but now I'm wondering like, what is Kat going to try to do, because this sets something up for the future. And Autumn does make a wish, and what's interesting is she calls it a gift. I had called mine a sacrifice, like the thing that you throw in.
Mm-hmm.
So she calls it a gift. And she says, I wish we'll stay friends forever no matter what happens. And when she puts this wish in, the moth butterflies, like the magical glowing ones, they fly out of the abyss. And you have this moment where you're both looking at these moth butterflies, and um, you have the option for a romantic dialogue, but I chose the non-romantic dialogue where they just talk about how they wish they could fly like these moths and like go into the abyss and see like the bottom.
Man, you
It
got
was
such
really
a beautiful
beautiful. Yeah.
moment.
um I think in terms of, again, this like idea of rage, I feel like Autumn maybe hadn't connected directly with her anger or that rage until this point, until this fracture in the friendship. Um And maybe that's why the abyss is like calling to her a little bit more, if we're thinking about it from that more like metaphorical level. Um,
Hmm.
because this is like maybe the first time she's letting herself, like she just had a panic attack, she's showing herself as much more emotionally vulnerable and just emotional in general than we've seen her the entire game.
Wild.
um
I am
so yeah.
so jealous. It feels like you're having like a much improved gaming experience, and I'm loving
No.
this game.
I think both are really good experiences.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed. I just wish I knew what my choices were going to lead to, and I was
I
better at
know.
choosing them. You got the meta thing down, and I'm not there. So I see that you've got it. Like you came back to the bar, and you had significantly more experiences than I had. Like I went back to the
Mm-hmm.
bar as an adult. I went and hung out with Nora on the patio.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, I just tried not to force her into anything, and then kind of left it at that. You seem to
Mm-hmm.
have a much more rich bar experience here than I had.
Yes, I so what's really funny is you go and there's like a clip or a moment of Gus talking, I think, about his brother or his cousin who got into crypto and bought like a cat JPEG or something, and he's kind of like,
I
my
did overhear
idiot
that.
brother,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
idiot
yeah, yeah.
cousin, like he's kind of making fun of it. So shout out to the devs for hating on crypto. Love
We
it.
love.
And I think this is what I had mentioned before, where you finally have the conversation between Pam and Gus, and they talk
Mhm.
about the cabin, this cabin that was like recently discovered, or this recently sort of like the hot spot for people to go. And I was thinking, is this our cabin? Is this the cabin that we've been going to, or a
That's
different one?
fascinating.
Um, and then Pam talks about wanting to go spend like a weekend there. And I forget what dialogue options I picked, but basically I was telling Gus, you should go with Pam. And so they set up a weekend that they're going to go together, and Pam clarifies that it's like a date. So this is a romantic Ghostbusters weekend in the cabin.
Well, I sure hope Gus enjoyed life. It's too
Yeah.
bad. Poor
Yep.
guy.
So I guess that's the end of Gus's subplot there. And they ask you whether or not you can't wait to go home, or whether you're like wanting to stick around or excited to stay in the town for a little bit longer. And I answered how I felt like Swan would answer, and it was, I can't wait to go home. Because that's how I would feel personally.
It's so interesting is like we've learned so much about the lives of the other two of
Yeah,
Autumn and Nora. We've learned almost nothing about adult Swan's life. Like, is she happy working in the bookstore? Does she have friends? Like, what is it
yeah.
like for her? It's kind of an interesting omission at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And so then I go outside to check on Nora, and you said you also had this conversation. So what was this conversation with Nora like?
Basically, it was just like, how do I get a person to? It was like talking to a scared cat. Like, what do I need to say to make you not immediately get up and leave?
Mm-hmm.
I smoked a cigarette with her. I encouraged her
Mm-hmm.
to keep smoking cigarettes, which her wife
Don't do
apparently
it, kids.
hates. Yes, I don't believe in this, but they did. And yeah, there really wasn't much to it other than me just like trying to not be blamey and not pressure her, but
Mm-hmm.
also be like, we got a job to do. And she eventually
Yeah.
got there. Um, and this kind of leads to the next big kind of flashback moment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall here. Is there an interview you have with Nora before the big kind of breakout scene?
Not an interview, but you do have a scene with her in the garage where it's just you and Nora.
Hmm.
Is where she has just gotten back from LA. So she spent maybe like probably a weekend or a week in LA with her mom, because it's still summer and you're still there, so it can't be that long. She has the piercing. So whatever piercing you recommended for her, I think she got, or at least for me, it was the nose. Yeah.
Nose piercing. Yeah, gotta go.
Yep. And you get a little bit of insight about how her relationship with her mom, as well as just a little gift. So you sort of have this moment with her. Is that kind of what you did as well?
Yeah, nice little friendship bracelet, and
Yeah.
then we shared a joint together.
Yep. Yep.
We
Really
went
chill
for it.
day.
Yeah,
Very notable. Nora forgot to get Autumn a gift. Like that was a big conversation point, or at least I felt like it was a big conversation point.
we did
Um,
not have that. I thought that I saw three gifts on the table.
no, oh my gosh. We had a conversation where Nora's like, forgot to get her something. And I was like, excuse me? You forgot to get Autumn a
What?
gift? Because
That's like the biggest deal you can have.
like, yeah, what? So yeah. And then I thought it was interesting. I think it was adult Nora reminiscing as you were in this, but adult Nora talks about how her mom bonded with her most over fashion,
Mm.
not really about like music or Hollywood. And I think it's really interesting because she ended up going into fashion. So
It feels like between this and now this information on a potential divorce, like we're seeing a lot of like
yeah.
cyclical behavior with Nora.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Um, and yeah, so their plan to get the summer back is one that as an adult, I am just like, what are y'all doing? Like this could be so bad. Like I wish they had taken a different avenue, but they're planning on breaking out Kat from her home to like take her out and go watch, I think, the meteor shower.
Jenny, we're getting bridge to Terabithia.
I
There
know.
has to be the Terabithia.
I see this plan and I am just not ready for it because I feel like it's going to end very badly.
Perhaps with a cabin fire. We'll see.
Just, yeah.
Yes. And so you go to the ranch that Kat's father owns. Like he's this big rancher, as we've learned. And you have this moment where you're trying to like sneak your way to the house. And anytime you like choose the wrong path, you get caught and you have to start over again. I love this sequence. This is like these kind of like stealth sequence things. It almost doesn't matter what the video game is. And I get the chance to do it as long as it feels achievable. I love these. Like there are times where it's definitely like, I just want to get past this scene.
Yeah.
But like, I felt like it was mostly like pretty logical, made a lot of sense for like how you got there, like distracting Dylan.
Yeah.
You're flashing a light up into the window to get Kat's attention.
That was cute.
I love that. You also get like Kat with like these giant signs, which like, where is she getting the markers in these giant pieces of paper from?
Right? I'm like, I guess, I don't know. Maybe she's got a lot of poster board because she's homeschooled. I don't know.
Okay. Actually, yeah.
So
I like that.
We can make this work.
It felt very like Taylor Swift "You Belong with Me" music video.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure? Like,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But I thought this was a really fun little like mini game sequence.
Yeah.
I also liked trying to like remember in like adult moments, like what was the code to help you get into the gate for various flashback moments. I thought all that was very cool.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. I got a bug, I think, where Dylan was just kind of like he's supposed to sit in the chair and then I think get up and walk around. He just like stood by the chair for a little bit. And so I had a couple like buggy moments kind of like that. But overall I thought it was fine. Honestly, as far as sneaking sequences go, I have played ones that have made me much more frustrated and that felt way more out of place. So this narratively felt fine. It was kind of like, oh, I got to switch my brain because
it's very different.
Metal Gear now.
Yeah.
But I did think it was like very cute and it was a nice change of pace too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The one thing that I did not like about it is like from a design perspective. So like you have the house, you have this like covered porch, you have a little green space, and then there are these hedges, and you have to go a certain pathway to get through the hedges.
Yeah.
But there are giant gaps in the hedges, and it's like there's no reason why I can't just take one step up and go through these gaps. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So that was my one complaint, but like, I don't know, nothing serious there.
Yeah.
And where we stopped is if you successfully sneak, you find a ladder and you're going to climb up onto the awning, or like dormer. I'm not sure what it's called, this overhang, so that you can make your way into Kat's window.
Yep. And Nora is going to be the distraction. I'm like, all right, you go, Nora, go do it.
So before we kind of wrap, I am curious. I want to come back to this question I asked at the beginning, which is, we're getting this story told over multiple tapes with like, a month or 2 months release in between, as far as we know, at least between 1 and 2. How effective is this game release for you in terms of like how it's affecting your storytelling? Like, what are your thoughts?
In terms of playing the tapes back to back?
Or I
Or
think just in general, like the creators chose to release this game in tapes instead of all at once. Like, how
mhm.
does that serve the story or the storytelling here?
To be really honest, I don't know if it did. Personally, I feel like going into this game now, playing it now, I feel like if it was just one full experience, one game, one tape, that probably would have worked just as well, if not better. I think from a narrative standpoint, I understand how ending on that sort of big reveal, like for a TV show, like that kind of works, I feel like. But for the momentum of playing a game, at least for me, if I had to wait any longer than it took for me to just download the update and click back in again, um, I think I would have probably lost interest or
Yeah.
at least like moved on to another game and it would have lost the intensity for me um personally. But I'm curious, what about you?
I'm having the same sensation.
Mhm.
I really dig this game, but from a pacing perspective, the tape one was like, well, for me, it was like 9 hours. For most players, it was like, 6 or 7
7.
hours. Um, I it felt like we were building to a really important arc
Mhm.
and that we were going to be working towards this like supernatural mystery. And the thing that we got was we found the void and then we had this big like concert. And so
Mhm.
from like a pacing perspective and from a story arc perspective, it's like, well, you took me on this journey in tape one and I didn't really even unlock the scary stuff,
Mhm.
and we now know that there's like this sick child, but like there's no resolution to that story. And now here we are in tape two and it's like, well, I have the mystery of the box. We still don't have any supernatural horror happening at this point,
Mhm.
and it just feels very like slice of lifey to me.
Yeah.
And so I am struggling with like the how the pacing of this game, it's like it's coming in waves and it's not really
Mhm.
cresting with each. I think about like a really successful television series. It's like Severance season 2, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like Severance season 2 is a self-contained story. Like you're introduced to characters, you get these rich emotional arcs, and then it
Mhm.
ends with the completion of like a full story moment or story
Yes.
beat. I didn't feel like I got the conclusion of a story beat at the end of tape one, and
Mhm.
I'm missing like the driving tension for tape two to keep me like
Yep.
really going.
Yep. I think that's a really great comparison. Because yeah, for me, I think what works with television shows in particular, although I feel like with the ways that scripting and television pitching is structured now, that has changed, but
Yeah.
a really solid series will end with both questions, but also more importantly, it will answer at least a significant number of the plot holes or sort of threads that they introduce in that season. Like I
Hmm.
think the Severance example is perfect because even season 1, you absolutely have no idea what's going on for a lot of the threads, but you get a lot of answers by the
Big
end,
answers at
like
the end of the first
huge
season.
answers. So
Yeah.
it feels really good. And so I think taking that to video games in general, I feel like a lot of video games make this mistake that release episodically.
Hmm.
Um, Often they do what this game does, where they end on a reveal without any sort of closure to the first episode or first arc before moving to the next one.
Hmm.
And they also kind of just pick up where they left off. So it's a literal part two,
Yeah.
which I don't think personally works for me when I play games. And I think marketing wise, I know that um, just from my experience marketing in games, that typically doesn't work great for marketing either. Because
Yeah.
attention is hard to capture and to hold. And if you capture it, um, that may be the only time you capture it. And so it's like, why lose that momentum? Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm really curious to see how tape two continues,
Mhm.
and how we get to the ending here. I think it will determine pretty forcefully for me if I keep going with this at the end. Not
Yeah.
because I think this is a bad game. Like, I really do like this game. I like being in
Yep.
this world. I like these characters. But just in terms of like level of satisfaction for the pacing
Hmm.
and the time, like I can foresee this being a challenge for me. I guess is
Yep.
where I am.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like really enjoying this game, but I have a lot of question marks for not necessarily how it's going to end, but how the structure of the ending will work
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
um, but I'm curious because we still don't have like the event. There is an event that
Yeah.
we are missing here. Do you think it's going to happen at this meteor shower? Do you think like do you have any predictions on sort of what this thing is that kind of causes them to promise to not ever talk to each other again?
I don't know. Like, we're
Yeah.
definitely, wishes are we could be getting into like a monkey paw situation with like a
Mm,
meteor shower and wishing on falling stars. Like, there's definitely like some interesting themes and motifs happening here. And
yeah.
there's like a possible richness to that.
Hmm.
But just are there going to be 5 tapes? Is that what I feel like I've seen something like that online? Does that sound familiar?
I That does sound familiar, but I have actually no idea.
Hmm. I think what is hard for me right now is understanding what the dramatic tension is that we are clinging to. Like, for
Hmm.
the first half of tape 2, all of the dramatic tension is really happening with like adult present time Swan, like
Hmm.
connecting with Autumn, connecting with Nora, trying to open the box, but like there's been no mystery in season 2 in the past so
Yeah.
far. Like, there's nothing that's like keeping this tension going. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it could turn out great. I'll just say that, like, for me, this episodic storytelling is likely to be a challenge.
Hmm. Okay, I did some quick Googling and thank you, Reddit, for having the answer. So, in the Lost Records game subreddit, there is a post, I guess lights, I don't know, not light spoilers in the fact that there's going to be future tapes probably, but I guess if you're already hearing this, you've already heard it. So the developers did a sort of, I think, Q&A where they set up a replica of the garage and
Cool.
behind one of the developers, there's a photo where there's a box that says tapes 3 through 6.
6.
So it looks like there might be 6. Um, so now I'm curious if it's like maybe if there are, because I feel like whatever happens, the tale of these 4 girls feels like it will come to a general close by the end of this. I wonder if maybe the other tapes will explore maybe like Dylan's story potentially. If we wanted to
Ooh.
keep it within characters we know, I wonder if maybe we get to explore like other people who've encountered the same abyss in the area. If the
Maybe
abyss
we
shows
get
up in other
Pam
places. Yeah, I
and
was
how
like,
she
maybe we
became a
get
cryptid.
yeah. So I'm curious because yeah, we have potentially
Hmm.
um, 6 more tapes, which means, a few more stories at least.
What was there was a Netflix movie series, like a trilogy that got released a few years ago that was like it was like
Mm.
Halloween, like 1995 and 1930 and 1632 or something. Do you remember this
Oh,
at all?
vaguely. That sounds super familiar.
Let's see if I can find it with a quick
Hmm.
Google. Mm, mm, mm. Fear Street, the Fear Street
Fear Street.
trilogy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it is. Let's see if I can find the years. Okay, it's 94, 78, and 1666. And
Oh,
what's happening
interesting.
is, first of all, I really enjoyed these. I remember them being very
Hmm.
good. So if you're looking for a horror flick, would
Nice.
recommend. But the idea is you start in the most recent time, like the one in the 90s, and you learn that there's like this historic curse in this town, and you start playing through
Mhm.
past teenagers engaging or learning through
Yeah.
like seeing their lives engaging with this curse,
Yeah.
starting back to the 1666 where the curse begins.
Mhm.
And so maybe that's an interesting idea. Maybe they are doing something like that, and we'll get a big character shift going
Mhm.
back in subsequent games.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think also, I mean, I love the idea too that you kind of presented where they're not all going from the 90s to present day. Like maybe we can have some that are in like even the 2000s. Maybe we go back to the 80s or 70s. Like it'd be interesting also to explore
Mm-hmm.
teenagehood. Um, Again, this like these feelings of growing up, of finding your identity, of trying to fit in um, within like the supernatural setting, but across other decades as well. I think honestly the early 2000s would be super fun. It's really in vogue right now in terms
It
of
would be
everyone's
good
like
marketing.
yeah, so I'm like that would just be kind of cool if we're going for more like millennial nostalgia bait basically.
Good for
Um
them.
yeah,
They may have
if
zeroed in
that's the
on
case.
something.
Yeah, but I'd be curious if anyone listening, if you have any theories about future installments, would love to hear them. I'd also love to know your predictions as we get to the conclusion of this, whether you have an idea of like what that event that sparked the promise never to see each other again. If you have an idea of what that may be, yeah, would love to hear your ideas, whether in the Discord or to a voicemail here or via the email newsletter.
You got my mind really spinning now. Like
Yeah.
Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. Like maybe next one's Lost Records, a different band from a group of
Yeah.
girls in the 70s or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this could be like a fun idea. I hadn't thought
Oh
about
my
this, and it's
gosh.
giving it actually does make me kind of interested for how they could be playing this out.
Yeah.
I was worried that they might be following the same girls throughout all of this, but
Hmm.
from a pacing and like from a pacing perspective, I can't picture it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It
make sense
doesn't
to
make
me. So
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and also it's kind of cool because like punk, the Riot Girl, of the 90s, like that is such a distinct era of
Mm.
like feminine rage and sort of that coming into its own. I'd be really curious if they explored what did that look like in other decades and other generations. Um, that could be really, really interesting. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
very interested to see how they continue with this. Any big final thoughts on this section of the game?
Um, I am very curious to see the ending. Yeah, the meteor shower feels like it's going to be a important event to me. I don't know, just everything feels like it is coming to a head. It's coming to a close.
Mm.
Um, I'm really curious to see because we have the Dylan and Corey subplot.
Mm.
I want to know what happens to them. So yeah.
Now you got my head spinning because I have been thinking this whole time that like we are not getting the ending of these four girls' story at the end of tape 2, but now you
Hmm.
have convinced me that we will be, and so
Yeah.
my expectations for the back half of tape 2 are very different all of a sudden.
Ooh, wait, can you like quick highlights?
I was expecting this game to be stretching over multiple tapes with these
Mhm.
four girls. So I thought the whole summer was just going to keep going on and on. I assumed the girls were going to get
Oh.
back together and be friends again here in the next like back half of this tape. But
Mhm.
now that we're talking through this, like, oh, wait, maybe they won't be. Like, maybe this Bloom and Rage
Oh, no.
concert at the end of tape 1 is the height of their like friendship moment and they only had a
Yeah.
few weeks together. And it's like, that's really sad to me. And
Yeah.
also, from a pacing perspective, makes a lot more sense than where my head was.
Mhm, mhm. Dang. Well, I'm excited. We're going to find out next week. We're going to dive in and finish our discussion on Lost Records Bloom and Rage. That episode will come out on May 6th. So this game is bleeding into May, which normally we'd start a new game next week, but we're finishing up. We're taking our time. We're not rushing. We got plenty of time. And just a little bit of housekeeping before we finish out. That means May 10th is our hangout. So if you want to come talk about Lost Records, final thoughts, if you want to just hang out with the community, maybe dish on Sinners a little bit. If you've
Mm-hmm.
also seen it, it's just a time to hang out together, chat for about an hour, and then enjoy the rest of our weekend. So May 10th in Discord is when that's happening. You can come to chat via voice, you can come to chat via text, or you can just listen and lurk. No camera, whatever you want. With that, because we're sort of on an off, the month is starting a little late. Basically, that means on May 7th, that's when we'll officially, start playing Obra Dinn, our May selection. I think this one was also a community voted title, was Obra Dinn, so
Cool.
that's super exciting. And May, let's see, why did I say May 17th in the notes here? I was wrong. May 13th then is when our first Obra Dinn episode drops. So
Love it.
ignoring my own typo here. I'm going to fix that right now. So yeah, if you would like to get started on Obra Dinn, you can. Nothing stopping you. But just our first discussion of it will start May 13th.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here at Geeks and Grounds today. Jeez-o, what a time.
Pete.
If you find yourself needing some cash, see if your parents can give you the equivalent of a $20 allowance here in the year 2025.
I'm going to go call my mom right now.
Bye.
Bye.